So today we have lecture number 6 of system analysis and design, and today we will be discussing LO3, learning outcome 3, 3.1 and 3.2, and this is the last LO, and it has 2 assessment criteria and their indicative content. So first one is present a solution to a client to improve an existing system using an agreed format justifying the proposed improvements. So basically in this, what we have to understand, like we have to first present a solution, like we have to first create a solution for the proposed improvements in the existing system. Like definitely, as previously we have discussed, like first we have to analyze the existing system and then we have to suggest improvements or recommend improvements in the existing system. So now we have recommended the improvements and now we have to present solution to implement those improvements within the existing system. So then using an agreed format means like whatever the client is agreed with format, okay, whether how you have to present the solution in the PDF form, in the documented Word form, okay, or you have to what format is client asking, you have to work for that. Then justifying the proposed improvements. So now you have to justify also why you have recommended these improvements and why you are proposing these improvements within the existing system. Then in the 3.2, we have evaluate feedback from client on proposed solution and make amendments where appropriate. So first we have to present the solution to client, and then once we present, then client will give the feedback on the proposed solution, and then according to that feedback, we have to amend the proposed solution. Like well, if he or she is asking that you have to add new functionalities, then you have to check in the proposed solution, like you have to check your schedule, okay, your timeline, your resources, okay, budget. So then you have to update accordingly. So definitely here the client is your tutors or teachers, okay, or assessors who will be giving your feedback, giving you feedback on your indicative content. In this, we have the present solution is in when we are going to present the solution. So we have to discuss about the feasibility plan and requirement illustration, like what are the technical feasibilities, okay, economical feasibilities. So we have to define them. Then we have to gather the requirements. We have to do interviews, or we have to review the documentation of the system, okay, existing system, as we discussed previously, or we have to do surveys of those required to make the recommendation or solutions in the existing system. Okay, then in the design specification, we have to provide the process specification, a data flow diagram, and entity relationship diagram. We have to first up in 3.1, we have to present a solution to client to improve an existing system using an agreed format justifying the proposed improvements, then evaluate feedback from client on proposed solution and make it amendments where appropriate. Then in the indicative content, we have proposed solution, in which we will add feasibility plan and requirement illustration. And in the design plan, in design specification, we have to add process specification, data flow diagram, and entity relationship diagram. And in proposed solution, we have to add the implementation plan, deployment plan, and post implementation plan. So one by one, we will discuss all these things. Okay, so in the feasibility plan, first of all, we have to provide the objective of the project. Okay, in this, we will provide the detailed description of the project and detailed description of the system, and then existing system, and then what are the weaknesses in the system, and what are the recommendations we have defined in the system, and how to implement those improvements in the system. So the objective of this feasibility plan is to assess the viability of improving the existing system to enhance performance, user satisfaction, and operational efficiency. So in this we also define the existing system, okay, and its weaknesses, and then we will define that if we are going to improve this system, we are adding additional functionality in the existing system, so whether it is enhancing the performance of the system and whether it is satisfying the user needs or not, and what is its operational efficiency, like whether it's giving any positive impact or any benefit in day-to-day activities to the users or not. So all these things we have to define in the objective of feasibility plan. Then in the types of feasibility, we have technical feasibility. Again, it's evaluate if the current technology can support the proposed improvements. So definitely whatever the improvements we have recommended or we are going to add in the existing system. So we have to check for those improvements whether they technically support the system, existing system or not. So for example, if we have added the functionality in the existing system, or but that functionality is not supporting the current system, okay, and it's not properly integrating with the current system, so definitely there is no use of that improvement in the existing system. We are just wasting the time and cost and resources on that improvement. So we have to check the technical feasibility of the improvements so that we can better finalize the improvements and we can add them in the existing system. Then we have economic feasibility. It analyzes cost versus benefits, ensuring the investment yields a positive return. So in the economic feasibility, we discuss the costs, okay, and we discuss the resources available, and we check like if we are investing this lot of cost, okay, so whether it will give us a positive impact and in return it's giving us any long-term benefit or not. So we have to check the economic feasibility of the project as well in this feasibility plan. Then we have operational feasibility. So it assesses whether the new system aligns with the organizational goals and needs. So we have to check whatever the improvements we have recommended or we are going to add in the existing system. So those improvements are relevant to the user needs or not, or they are actually aligning with the organization goals or not. They are meeting the organization objectives or goals, are impacting in a positive way to the organization or not. So we have to check for operational feasibility as well. Then in the third, we have to add the findings. So technical upgrades are feasible with current resources. Initial investment is justified by protecting efficiency gains. User feedback indicates a strong demand for improved functionality. So in the findings, we have to check what are the you can say in the findings you have to add like what are the positive impacts of the improvements in the system and what are the negative impacts, and whether the improvements which we have added or we are going to implement in the existing system, they are giving the positive impact and they are actually satisfying the user needs or not, or they are aligning with the organizational goals or not. So we have to add the findings of the project as well. Do you have any question till now? Then we have requirement elicitation. So in the requirement elicitation, this is second phase in which we have to gather the requirements, and those requirements we can gather through interviews from stakeholders and providing surveys and questionnaires to end users, or then we can use cases. So conduct interviews with the key stakeholders to gather insights on current system limitations and desired enhancement. Okay, so in the stakeholder interviews we can interview from the staff of the system, okay, of the organization who is using the system, IT support system, okay, who are using the system. So whatever the users who are using the existing system of the organization, we can take interview from those users and we can gather the requirements like what are the things they are happy with the system and what are the things on which they need improvement. So like this we have gathered the information, and on the basis of those information we can suggest the improvement and then implement those improvements. Then surveys and questions, questionnaire here again. As interview we have discussed, like it takes a lot of time, okay, so we can make questions and surveys, and then we can distribute to the users, and then we can gather the information from those users by fulfilling the surveys and by filling the surveys and questionnaires through the users. So once the user mark the you can say their feedback, like agree, disagree, or mention answer the question mentioned in the questionnaires or surveys, so they provide us a detailed feedback about the system requirements and about the system functionalities. So on the basis of those, we can suggest improvements, and then we can make improvements in the system. Then we have use cases, develop use cases to represent the interaction user have with the system, highlighting required improvements. So in the use cases, we have to graphically represent the interaction of the users with the system, like how the user is interacting with the system and how the system is responding to the user, so that we can highlight the requirement improvements. Okay, do you have any question in this slide?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then we have design specification. In design specification, we have first of all we have process specification. So define the processes with the define the processes that will be modified or introduced, ensuring that meet user requirements and improve efficiency. So we have to define the processes, like we have recommended the improvements. So definitely those improvements are some functionalities which we need to add. So whatever the functionality we are going to add in the existing system, though it takes it's a proper process, it needs different steps to complete those improvements, to add those functionality. So we have to define the processes to complete those specific improvements in the system, and we have to ensure that the user it meets the user requirements and improve the efficiency of the system. Then current processes, we in this also we in when we are defining the processes, then we have to define the current process, describing existing workflows, like in existing system how the data is flowing, how the user is interacting with the data, how the data is storing, or how the system is responding to the user's queries. So we have to define the current processes, and then proposed changes we have to also define, like outlining specific modifications to enhance functionality. Then in the data flow diagram, we have to create data flow diagrams, like these diagrams are mentioned. So you have to create the actual diagram for the improvements. So we have to create data flow diagram, DFT, create a DFT to visualize data movement within the system, and it has two types. It has two, three, four type, I think so. Level 1, level 2, level 3, level 0. So we have to just focus on level 0 and level 1 for the assignment. So in the level 0 overview of the entire system, it provides you a complete overview of the entire system, and you are defining the overall system requirements and overall architecture of the system through the 0 level DFT. In level 1 DFT, breakdown of main processes showing data inputs and outputs. In this level 1 DFT, we break down different processes, different actions, okay, different functions into smaller parts, and then we show through the arrows, like how the data is going through one part to another, how the function is processing within the system. So we have to design two DFTs. One is level 0 DFT and one is level 1 DFT for the assignment. Then entity relationship diagram, ERD, you have to also develop an entity relationship diagram which illustrates data relationships within the system. So it includes entities, for example, users, transactions, attributes, for example, user ID, transaction date, and relationship one to many. So ERD basically an entity relationship diagram in which you have different entities, and those entities has different attributes, and each entity has relationship with another entity. So entities are basically those things, like if we talk about the database in terms of database, okay, so in the relational database system we have we are storing the data in tables form. So each table's column name is an entity. So entities are those you can say things which have some existing, which have them some characteristics, specific characteristics. So we add the entities, and then entities has specific characteristics or attributes. For example, user has a name. Okay, customer, for example, customer has name, ID, email, contact number. Okay, transaction, if there is a transaction, okay, transaction has the transaction ID. Okay, transaction date. So these type of the you can say attributes can have in the entities. Then relationship, the user, one user can do many transaction, but one transaction can be done by only one user. So like this, so we can define the relationship between the entity relationship diagrams. Okay, do you have any question in the previous slide?
No.
Okay, then we have proposed solution. In the proposed solution, we have to define three things: implementation plan, deployment plan, and proposed implementation plan. So in the implementation plans, we have to outline the steps for executing the proposed improvements, like what are the different steps which we are going to follow to execute the proposed improvements. Then in this, we develop the phase in which we build and test the new features. Okay, whatever the improvement we have suggested, we have to build them actually, and then we have to test those features um, so that we can check whether they are working perfect or not, or they need any modification. Then in training, provide user training sessions to familiarize stakeholders with the new functionalities. So once we have completed the improvements, we have added the improvements in the existing system, then we have to give a trainings to the users who are going to use that system, so that they can understand how to use the new features of the system. Then in the deployment plan, detail the strategy for rolling out the improved system. In this, we schedule, and then we define the resources. So in this schedule, create a detailed timeline for the deployment, including key milestones, for example, development, completion, testing phases, or full deployment. And in the resources, identify necessary personnel, IT support trainers, and tools, deployment, software, hardware required for smooth transition. So here in schedule, you have to define your own milestones. Okay, like whatever the improvements you have suggested, and now you are going to implement them. So we have you have to make a schedule for that. Like you can add the uh, task number. Okay, then stage, sorry, task number, time duration required, resources required, and milestone. Okay, so like this, you can add the plane. You can make this schedule, and you can define the activities, and then you can add the details, relevant details according to each activity you have defined in the schedule. Then in the resources, you can add the necessary resources, like definitely you are going to, you can say, going to do this assignment alone. So extra resources like other IT support channels you are not requiring. You just need your own, you and your this work. Okay, so deployment software, hardware required for smooth transition. So this you can add. Okay, then post implementation planning. In this, we have monitoring. So once we have deployed this software, okay, we have implemented the software or improvements in the existing software. So we have to do post implementation planning. Post implementation planning, like once we have completed the software development or existing features development within the new feature development within the existing system. So how we will monitor them, and what are the post implementation after developing them. So we have to, first of all, we have to do monitoring, set up pre-performance indicators to track system performance, for example, user adoption rates, system response times. Then regularly review system performance and user satisfaction matrices. So in the monitoring process, we have to monitor the system, like how many users are using the system, and how the system is responding to user queries, what is the delay time of the system, or what is the response rate of the system. And like this, we have to define the key performance indicators, and then we have to check according to those indicators, whether our system is beneficial for the organization or not. And if definitely if the more number of users are adapting the system and the system response is less, like for example, once the user send a query, system is responding in no time, so definitely we have the you can say positive impact of the system. So we have to check regularly, we review the system performance so that we can check the user satisfaction metrics. Then we have feedback loop. So in this feedback loop, we have to enable the feedback mechanism within the system so that these users can give their suggestions for improvements, or they can give their feedback regarding the improvements of the system. And they can on the basis of those feedbacks, we can improve the system, or we can start working on improvements of those issues or difficulties which are faced by the users. So if we establish channels for user to report issues and suggest enhancements, for example, dedicated sports stickers or user forums, then schedule regular check-ins with stakeholders to discuss feedback and improvements. So like this, we can improve, make the feedback mechanism for the user so that they can provide us valuable feedbacks. Then updates. Plan for regular software updates based on user feedback and emerging needs. Create a roadmap for future enhancement to keep the system line with business objectives. So in the updates section, like we can work for the updates or any version update or whatever the functionalities if they are demanding by these stakeholders or users. So we can work for those updates as well in the post implementation plan. Okay. Then we have evaluate feedback from client. Okay, so this is 3.2. So in this we have to evaluate feedback from the client. So now if we have done the planning phase, okay, deployment phase and the post implementation plan phase, now we have to evaluate the feedback from the user which we have gained from the user. So whatever that we have taken from the user, we have to evaluate that feedback, and we have to check whether the users needs are changed or any additional functionalities demanded by the users are there. So we can add those functionalities or changes in the plane, and then we can amend the or modify the plane which we have previously created, like timelines, resources, cost. We can you can say modify them according to the user upgraded needs. So here initial client feedback. So present the proposed solution to the client and gather their input, focusing on clarity of the plan, comments regarding feasibility and resource allocations, any additional features uh, or changes they might want. So we have to present the solution to the client, like you have to provide the you can say plan for checking. Okay, and then you will be getting the you can say response from the client, and then any you will be concerned regarding feasibility and resource allocation, and or any changes which are asked by the clients, you have to add them in the plan. Then amendments to the proposed solution based on client feedback. Make the following adjustments. For example, adjust the implementation timeline to accommodate client availability for training. Okay, then incorporate additional features that the client emphasized during the discussion. Then reassess budget estimate to account for any additional resources required by the revised plan. So these are all the activities which are those activities which we have to do, like we have discussed the plan with the clients. Okay, and in the discussion they have asked like these are the functionalities they also want to include in the system. Okay, so we have to check for those functionalities like they are suitable and we can do them in the budget, or we need any additional resources, any additional time. So we have to, on the basis of those observation, we can add, we can modify the existing plan. Then finalization, revise the plan to reflect all amendments and present the final version to the client for approval. So ensure that all stakeholders are aligned and that the plan meets their expectations and organizational goals. So in the final step, we have to revise the plan, uh, and in that revised plan, we have to you can say like we have to add all the functionalities which are discussed with the clients, and any additional functionalities are asked by the clients, we have to add in the revised version, and we have to finalize the plan, and then we can submit final version to the client for approval. And we have to make sure that all the stakeholders requirements, all the stakeholders, users, managers, or whatever the staff is there in the organization for which we are making the system existing system improve, so all their needs should be you can say accommodated in the plan. Do you have any question?
No.
Okay, so in the last, this comprehensive solution proposal outlines a structured approach to improving the existing system. So by following this detailed plan, we can aim to enhance functionality, boost user satisfaction, and drive operational efficiency. The proposed improvements, grounded in extensive analysis and client feedback, are designed to create a system that effectively meet the evolving needs of stakeholders. With the client approval, we can confidently proceed with the implementation of the upgraded system. So once we have done all these steps, okay, we have planned the system, we have defined the objective, okay, we have checked the feasibility of the system, okay, feasibility of the plan, okay, then we have defined the processes, we have designed the diagrams to check what are the inputs, what are the outputs in the system, and what are the users, what are the entities of the system, and how the data will flow within the system. And after that, we have created the implementation plan, post implementation plan, okay. So we have defined the resources, timelines, budgets, okay. So all these things, once we have defined, we have completed all these things, and then we have presented solution to the clients, and we have gathered feedback from the client, and after that we have you can say amend the proposed plan, and then we can move forward for the implementation of the new features within the existing system, or the improvements which we have recommended in the existing system. We can work with for the implementation of those improvements. So do you have any question in this lecture today?
All clear.
Okay.